I will be walking you through the Acumos Marketplace. It says I'm muted. Is that okay? Okay. I will be walking you through the Acumos Marketplace, and then I will turn it over to Manoop, who will demonstrate some really cool machine learning models in action. Okay. Acumos Marketplace. What is it? Oh, sorry. The Acumos Marketplace, what is it? It is the user interface to the Acumos platform. It is a community, a machine learning community. It is an online catalog of machine learning models. Sorry, let me pull this down a little bit. Here is an example of an Acumos instance. This is, we set this instance up for this event, and I will be walking you through the marketplace. Notice that I am not signed in right now, and I am looking at a public view of the marketplace. Each one of these tiles represents a machine learning model that was onboarded into this instance of Acumos. Right now, I see 13 models, but when I log in, now you see here I've logged in. Now I see 36 models. I have just logged in as a user into the Acumos Marketplace. Okay, so there are 3 roles in the marketplace. There is a user, an admin, and a publisher. I have all 3 roles, so I will go through those screens. The users of Acumos, which I'm logged in as now, have the ability to search through the catalog, deploy models to their clouds, or download models locally. Oops, never fails. Okay. And the user also has the ability to onboard models into the platform, into the marketplace. And the user also has the ability to edit models within the marketplace and publish them to the marketplace to share internally with the rest of the Acumos community. And there is also the design studio, which allows users to chain together models to create complex solutions that can also be deployed to cloud. Site administrator has the ability to manage users as well as customize the homepage or the banner of their Acumos instance. And they also have the ability to federate their Acumos instance with another Acumos instance. And there is also a publisher request role, which allows users, which is a gatekeeper, and allows models to be published publicly outside of the Acumos instance that we're in right now. So let me go through the marketplace. Here's an example. Let's say I'm searching for a model. I have search functions built in to quickly pull up any models I'm looking for. I can also filter by category or manage or themes or tags like you can do in other tools. And there is also the ability to show more models or pagination. Let me take you down into a model. Let's say I'm looking for an image classifier. So here I am. Never fails. Let me just jump over here. Okay, so it's asking me to sign. Okay, here I am signed in, and this is an example of the model that I just chose, the image classification, an image classifier. And first I note that I know who onboarded the model into the marketplace, and I can see a description that they wrote. This model has a good description. It provides usage, information, performance. I like it, so here I go. I'm going to deploy it to my cloud. All I have to do is put in some information and hit the deploy button, and it goes. And I could also download it locally. So if I want to download this model locally, I just click the download links. Okay, now let me move on to. Yes, this is right here. That's what I first did. I read up on the model first. I wanted to know, okay, the modeler provided the description of the model, background, usage, and performance. Yes? I'm sorry, what's the question? Could we take it off after for the Q&A so I can get, let me just take you through and then you can save your questions for later. Thank you. So the modeler provided this information so I could read up information about the model and then decide if I want to deploy it to cloud. Okay, so that covers a model, and let me go back to onboarding. Onboarding a model. Sorry. Okay, let's say I want to onboard a model. Users have the ability to onboard models into the platform. So it's a very easy to use interface. You could either onboard through command line or through web. And once you onboard your model, oh, by the way, it has this drag and drop feature. You have all the instructions of how to bundle your model. And then you also have instructions to the wiki for how to perform these tasks. And then you can just browse, drag and drop, and then onboard your model, click a button, watch it go through its process, its steps, and then it will show up in a private workspace. You don't have to worry about sharing your model with the marketplace, because when you are in the, you get a private workspace called My Models where you can publish your models. Sorry, I'm not logged into, I got signed out of the application, so just give me a second. Thank you. Let me, oh, Murphy's Law. Let me sign in. Okay, where were we? Okay, My Models, private workspace. I onboarded a model quickly and easily, dragged and dropped it into the My Models workspace. So here I have my unpublished models. You'll notice that I have the ability to add information to my model. That means I can put the description in, add a graphic or image, and then I can publish my model to the company marketplace. And then from there, if I choose, I can also publish it outside of this instance to the public marketplace. Okay, and so that's onboarding and the private workspace. Oh, and I can also collaborate with other users of the instance on this model before publishing it into the marketplace. So there's that whole publishing workflow process. Then there is also the Design Studio. The Design Studio is the chaining of models. It is the user interface. It has a drag and drop canvas where you can drag and drop the models from the marketplace catalog, chain them together to form complex solutions, and then deploy them to cloud. Okay, so I just went over the features of the user. Now let me take you through what the site administrator can do. Site administrator can manage users. They can assign roles to users and quickly search and add users. They also have the ability to customize the homepage. The homepage has, I don't know how to hide this bar. Let me just go here. So the Acumos homepage, you'll notice, has some nice graphics, a banner, and you know, information. So an admin has the control to add site content, enable, disable slides, and that sort of thing. And they also have the ability to co-brand their Acumos instance with their brand. So for instance, we set up the Linux Foundation events. We co-branded it with our Acumos instance. And you can also give your site an instance name. And this is very important because it leads into federation. Federation is the peer-to-peer sharing of models between two Acumos instances. So here's an example. Let's say I am peer A and you are peer B, and I want your models in my catalog and you want some of my models in your catalog. Through federation, we come together and we agree to subscribe to each other's public models and pull those models into our catalog. So now what I've done by federating with your Acumos instance is I now have a richer catalog. I have more content to share with my users. And what makes it really interesting is that I have just not only expanded the richness of my catalog, but now I have bridged a community. So I heard Mazen talk about the Legos and connecting different Acumos instances. Well, this is how we can share and build our communities to, for Acumos. And that's federation. Let me take you through the publisher role. So the publisher is the gatekeeper of who's allowed to share models outside of the Acumos instance. So the publisher, whenever a user requests to publish a model outside of the Acumos instance to that public view I showed you, the gatekeeper, who is the publisher, accepts or approves whether or not a model can be shared outside. Okay, and then there is the Q&A link, and the Q&A link points to Stack Overflow, which is tagged with the word Acumos, so you will know all the questions and answer, and you can get in, you can interact with the users of Acumos. And that's about it. I think that's what we have so far. All right, and I'll turn it over to Manoop, who's going to show us some really cool demos.
Thanks, Farheen, for navigating through the Acumos and Marketplace, how to use the overall front end and how to get around. I'll keep it focused on two main topics. One is, as Mazen said, how we lower the barrier for non-AI or developers who are focused on their business use cases, but not to do anything with their AI expertise. How can they make their application smarter? So how did we achieve through Acumos? That is one I'll be focusing on. And the second item would be, is this Acumos only solve AI's problems one at a time, like using one model, or can it also solve complex problems by applying multiple models to those applications? So these are the two aspects I'll focus on, and I'll show live demos of how we use and deploy from the Acumos. So let's say I'm a non-AI developer who is looking for a image classification model to apply onto one of my application where it has image data, but all it has to do is find out some objects from those images so that we can predict some new, tags out of those objects and give recommendations to the customers of those applications. So for that, first, as a user of Acumos and as a non-AI developer, I would first search for any existing AI image related models. Let me And the moment I search, I should find some of the image specific models. And thanks to our SME on AI modeling, Eric Jaworski, who has contributed some of these models like image classification and image mood classifiers. As you see, I just searched for the image and you see that there is an image classifier available readily. The first thing I would check is the services that are provided by this model compatible for me, or is that what I'm looking for? And for that, I would go into the signatures tab where I would search for what is the service it is exposing. So you see that there is a classify service taking in image as an input and then spitting out the image tags, which are like objects found in the image data that are being fed into this service. So it looks promising for me. So I would check what are the artifacts I would find for a Docker image. So basically this Docker image is the microservice of that image classifier model, which is wrapped into this Docker image and prepared and uploaded into the Acumos platform. So now all I have to do is, as Farheen showed you, we can either download and deploy in any of your local VMs, or I can deploy to cloud on Microsoft Azure. Right now we are supporting various other platforms, but for today's demo, I have chosen Microsoft Azure platform. And to save time, I have already deployed into Azure. And the screen right now you are seeing is a end demo application, which is feeding in data frames, image data frames into the microservice of that model that I just deployed. So as you see here in this field, there is an endpoint, which is the microservice of that model hosted at a particular port. And the classify function, which you have seen as a service function, is exposed. So now each data frame of particular video or images are being sent to that endpoint, and it is spitting out what all objects it is seeing from those images. So this is how, without AI expertise, I can simply look for a model from Acumos and deploy it into cloud and integrate into my end application. This is one use case of a image classifier model. And let me take you to a complex solution. For example, you have a much more complex problem, which requires multiple models to be applied, not one single AI model. So in that case, we have this cool design studio where you can search for any existing models and then link them together and deploy to the cloud space. For this example, let me pick a scenario where, let's say, a news television videos, which are basically telecasting some family videos of a particular news topic. And from that, they don't want to show the family photo or family faces or their kids' faces. So they basically want to pixelate those faces and give their privacy. So for that, let's say I have those videos ready and my application is also ready. All I need is some kind of a face detection models, which can detect the faces. And then I need a face pixelate model, which can pixelate those faces. Now I connect those two models together and then deploy to cloud, this composite solution. And let me show you that end result, how it looks. So here is the end demo application where I am feeding in the video input. And it is basically on the right side, you see that the faces are actually pixelated. Left side is the input frame by frame image being sent to the model endpoint that is highlighted here. And then the output is the frames with pixelated faces. So this is one example where you can solve much complex problems by applying multiple models. So let me take you to a telecom use case where we can use the similar image classification models to apply using a drones, so that a drone which can take the video of particular antennas and cables and can feed that images back to the image classification model so that it can classify whether it detects any towers, antennas, cables, and if they are disconnected or if they are broken, so that we don't need to spend like personnel to actually go into these towers, which are actually dangerous places to actually send. So it saves cost and also helps our support teams not to get into these dangerous places. So this is one really good telecom use case where we can apply this image classification model combined with drones. That's all I wanted to cover, at least with these live demos. So at this point, for the newcomers, you might have questions like, in the first place, how did these models come into this Acumos? So, which is a very common question that I get. So that's why I started with that. How modelers, AI modelers who are experts in building using TensorFlow, scikit-learn, or various other readily available toolkits, they work in their local environments, build these models, and then package it and onboard to the Acumos. How it is prepared and onboarded is what you'll be listening to from our SMEs. Paul and Guy will be covering those technical details, describing step by step, which are cool technical talks, getting into the actual code and details. At this point, I'll open up to the questions. Yeah, if you have any specific questions so far on the marketplace, and if you want to hold your questions for the onboarding and preparing the model, that's fine too. Yep, please go. Yep, please go. Yep, sure. Yeah, the question here in the audience is, while we are connecting the models, you wanted to understand what is the process behind? Yeah, after onboarding talks, there is a very focused session for design studio and technical details of how it works. But at a high level, there is a model connector built behind the scenes, which takes output of a first model and feeds into the second model. So how that model connector works and what all other technical tools are deployed, that's what our SME Kazi will address. Yeah. The question is, let me repeat, how many layers and time complexity involved in a model is not seen so far? That's the question. As you see, this AI model is, first of all, prepared as a microservice, which hides all those complexities inside that microservice and also wrapped into a Docker image. So the end user doesn't need to worry about all those layers and time complexities. However, what does that question lead to?
The models are created with tools like TensorFlow, or Keras, or PyTorch. So, any model can be optimized. So it's really. I think one answer is that we leave it up to the data scientist or modeler to document their model, and if they want to say my secret model that I'm not explaining, they can do that. And then once they go to Greek, goes to white paper, all sorts of they can do that too.
Yep. Yes, there is a validation module which is being designed and built in place. There are many other developers from different companies are also trying to participate in that component. At a high level, they wanted to have a certain set of security tools, like scanning tools, to scan the model and its source code, and also certify the proper licensing. So there is a specific licensing module, whether this model can be licensed or not. So it is still in progress. Right now, the model under description, you can see that authors of the model can provide all the accuracy details that they can see at the time of onboarding.
For independent verification of accuracy, we don't have that now, but I assume that you built as an add-on. Somebody, if there's like a Kaggle competition, you could say, you have to say, but you download, evaluate, move somewhere else.